Welcome to the Health and Wealth Power Hour, the podcast that provides you with the knowledge and insights you need to achieve physical, mental, and financial well-being. I'm your host, Harlon Pickett, a business consultant who's passionate about helping people achieve a more balanced and healthier life. Each week, we'll deep dive into topics related to health and wealth, including retirement income planning, innovative healthcare solutions, alternative funded health plans, and specific actions individuals and business owners can take to gain control of their finances, have access to affordable quality health care, and achieve peace of mind. We'll also be joined by innovative experts who will share their knowledge and insights on prevalent topics. So, whether you're looking to grow your wealth or improve your health, you've come to the right place. Get ready to be informed, inspired, and empowered. Let's get started. All right, man, we are excited today. Health and Wealth Power Hour. Harlon Pickett, your host. It's going to be a good one. We have a Vietnam veteran with us today, and boy, he's got some stories to tell. It's also pushed him towards holistic medicine. I know a lot of you out there really embrace that, and this gentleman does too. You might not even know that there was a holistic chamber of commerce. Well, my guest today is going to tell you all about that and more about his story as a Vietnam veteran from the Navy, Mr. Mike Martin. Thank you so much for being with us today, Mike.
Hey, Harlan, thank you very much for the invitation. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to sharing with you and all your listeners. I do have a few little comments to say about this, that, and the other, but let me start with one little short story. It's how did I end up being in Vietnam? Did I get drafted? Well, yeah, I did get drafted, and here's how it worked. I graduated from high school in early June 1965 on a Friday. On Monday, I started at the University of Arizona. On Thursday, I got home from school, and in the mailbox was, guess what? A draft notice telling me to report for duty and it was several weeks, into the future. So that was June of 65. About late July of 65, I show up at the draft board. The guy who's in charge. I get up there and he's looking at the papers and he's not a happy camper. He says, "Boy, you really pulled the wool over somebody's eyes, didn't you, Mike?" And I said, "No, I just, I'm doing what I'm doing, And he says, "Well, because you are enrolled at the university, you are eligible for a deferment from going to Vietnam now. But I'm going to get you next year when I get you back here." I was really excited about that, to say the least. So
yeah, I bet.
my further background is I am a military brat. I'm an Air Force brat. My stepdad was in the United States Air Force. So I've traveled around the United States. I got to travel as a kid. I lived in France. I lived in Morocco and North Africa. And then later, through my own travels, I've been through the Far East and obviously Vietnam and a number of different places there. But I was able to get the deferment. But knowing the military like I knew it because I was a brat, I knew that if I wanted to go in, if I was going to have to go in, I'd rather do it as an officer than an enlisted guy. I just knew that. So when I went down to the Navy Reserve, and they had the best option for me, which was, let's sign this contract, Mike, and you're going to become a reservist. You're going to come down here and drill with us, once a month kind of deal, and then you're going to give us 4 to 6 weeks in the summertime, and all the stuff. Then at the same time, I told the chief, I says, "Well, I want to be an officer." He says, "Oh, I can fix you right up here. Let's sign this contract too." And it's a contingency contract that basically said, if you graduate from college, we will send you to officer candidates. And that's what ended up happening for me. I finished actually 3 years and 3 summer school semester system. And at the end of August of 68, I completed the last summer school session on a Thursday, got on an airplane on a Friday, and on Saturday, I reported to active duty at Officer Candidate School in Newport, Rhode Island.
Wow.
And I
not much downtime there, Mike.
Zero. And that was to complete really my second 9 weeks. Officer Candidate School was really an 18-week school. And during the summer of 66, 67, anyway, I went to the first 9 weeks, then went back after I completed all my classes. And then on the 25th of October, 1968, I was commissioned as an ensign in the United States Navy. An ensign is the same rank as a second lieutenant in all the other branches of service.
Okay.
And at exactly the same time, they said, "Oh, congratulations, Ensign Martin." They said, "By the way, you have been designated. Sorry about that. You have been designated to be a supply officer in the United States Navy." So there's a special school, Supply Corps School. That school was located in Athens, Georgia. 6-month school to learn all the jobs of the enlisted guys that you may be managing if you're on board a ship or you're managing a department, if you're in a bigger ship or on shore-based duties. So completed that. And boy, aren't I lucky. I was one of the 5 guys that got orders out of the Supply Corps School. Guess where I got orders to? Vietnam. There was 5 of us. 3 of the guys got ships that were stationed right off in the South China Sea. Then there was 2 of us that got what we call shore duty, but boots on the ground in Vietnam. I was stationed in Da Nang, which was the northernmost port city in South Vietnam, and it was one of the ingress points where all the cargo that was being loaded on the West Coast was being shipped over there. So beer, soda, food, clothing, bullets, grenades, all the stuff went through ships either to Da Nang or to Cam Ranh Bay, which was further south in South Vietnam. So, and I arrived there. It's called the Naval Support Activity of Da Nang. I got assigned to the logistics division, and the logistics division was the ones that we operated the port. We brought the ships in, we took the cargo off, we put it on trucks, we shipped it out, we came back, and our goal was to we had 6 slips, so we could have 6 ships parked at any one time. We'd bring 6 in the morning, and we wanted to have 6 empty ships by the end of daylight. And that was the standing goal every day. And we pretty much met those goals. The only ships we did not bring in were the ammo ships, which we took the ammo off out in the harbor, put it onto small boats or onto barges that went up the river to the special ramp that we used just for the ammo situation. So I became what they called a freight expedite officer. In English, what was I? I was 22 years old when I arrived, and I was a trucking foreman responsible for moving cargo on a daily basis to the tune of about $20 million.
Wow.
And I did that effectively for about 55 days. I was in country 366 days. I did spend my R&R. I went to Australia, and that's a whole different story. And then because our command was doing so well, we did receive a Presidential Unit Commendation Medal because we were the #1 cargo handling facility in the entire Navy.
That's awesome.
During the period of time. And so the command gave us a second R&R. So A lot of the guys that are Vietnam vets have. You did what? You got a second what? I I went to Bangkok, Thailand, and that is a whole nother set of stories unto itself.
This is a family show, Mike. We're going to have to hold off on that, okay?
Yeah. Well, I said a different set of stories. That's all. Yeah.
Well,
Anybody wants that information, call me.
there you go. There you go. Well,
So,
you have a lot of great stories about what happened, kind of that, and some great experiences you had there as well. However, your commendations and your experiencers, unfortunately, are not the only thing you came home with. You unfortunately came home with something else that a lot of Vietnam veterans came home with. And so I'd like you to talk a little bit about that experience and what experiences that led to in our healthcare system.
absolutely. Yeah. It's been quite a journey for me with once I got into the system. But part of the strategy for the war was to drop Agent Orange in the jungles to basically kill the jungles. And it's primarily not so much the call them the rebel fighters from South Vietnam, but the North Vietnamese regular army, which was quite a fighting unit. They knew how to get into the deep jungles. Sometimes they'd build cities in mountains underground, those kind of things. Anyway, they dropped this Agent Orange. It would seep through the ground just like I can't think of the name now, but anyway, it's
Bad stuff.
bad stuff. Yeah, it's a dioxin. It can create not only cancers but other in the list of diseases that are considered to be presumptive diseases is about 4 pages long, and some of those things I can't even pronounce. And thank goodness I've only gotten one in the one category, because there are a lot of cancers there that some of them they had to create names for some of the stuff. It was so bad.
It hadn't been seen before. That's right.
Yeah. Yep. So, but that some of the ones that are kind of interesting that most people don't realize, and is type 2 diabetes is on that list. Ischemic heart disease is on that list. Hypothyroidism is on that list. Hypertension is on that list. Obviously, we're all aware of the combat post-traumatic stress disorder, which is the name that it finally got labeled, because it's been called many things. Battle fatigue, it was just one name. But it's kind of interesting. So I got diagnosed with some stuff starting in the 90s, and it's just one thing led to another. So I have a number of different things that have affected me. Because of that, Western medicine doctors at the VA are always prescribing pills. And that's when things first started out. I mean, you're in pain, here, take some oxys. These are good for you. So never would they investigate any other alternatives, although the story is starting to shift, Harlan. At one point, chiropractic was voodoo. It was voodoo medicine at the VA. Now VA hospitals, they don't have many chiropractors, but they do have 1 or 2 per major facility. And they are doing something brand new within the last 2 to 3 years called community care, which means if they don't have enough bodies within this institution itself, they'll go out and find somebody that's qualified themselves to be providing a level of service to our veterans, which has been very, very good. Because I go to a chiropractor, and he's right here in Houston. and really a small world. Turns out he was a Navy guy, and he was a Navy supply officer.
Wow.
Can you beat that? I mean, it was like, oh, interesting. Anyway, because of all of that stuff going on, I started getting very interested in what are alternatives that we can take that are non-invasive and basically nature from nature, because no chemicals, none of the bad stuff. Why do we always have to take bad stuff? The bad stuff is coming from nature as well. But guess what Big Pharma does? Big Pharma takes and sees what it can do and then says, okay, well, let's just change one molecule. And when we change that one little molecule, oh, we can patent that sucker and make a ton of money from it. Oh, you mean changing one molecule can affect how it reacts and can it have side effects? The good, the bad, and the ugly? Yep. So I got into, through a fellow Vietnam veteran, actually. He found a topical lotion made from nature's ingredients that has been designed to work quickly, to penetrate through the skin, to reduce inflammation and swelling. And what most folks don't realize that there are a ton of ingredients from plants, trees, herbs, and stuff that have anti-inflammatory properties just from nature. And guess what happens? When you mix a bunch of those together, they work synergistically together and are a much more powerful solution to help folks. And so I've been doing that for myself and for other folks out there. I actually had a contract at the VA hospital out in Palo Alto, California, and I was selling it a lot. Let's put it that way. I was selling so much at one VA facility that one of their MDs got a little ticked, and he had me kicked off. You're lost, buddy boy. You're lost. So crazy stuff, anyway. But so that got me involved in that, and then from that I've learned and met many practitioners, professionals in the holistic world. I do, in fact, run a chapter for the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. It is a national organization based out of Southern California. I've been in there, been doing stuff with them for probably about 8 years. I ran a chapter in Northern California, and now I've been running the Houston Memorial chapter of our deal. And we have meetings in sort of Midwest, between 69 and 59 in West Park off of Hillcroft, right in that area. So it's literally right next to the freeways. So it's relatively easy to get there. And we're going to be starting to have our meetings starting at around 9 a.m. on the second Friday of every month. And anybody wants to come and meet some great people that have some very interesting solutions and stuff. We have some very interesting meetings learning about the kind of water you drink, for example, the kind of air you breathe. We've had some demonstrations on, you hear about acupuncture, but how many people have heard about acupressure? And that's just another term for that is reflexology, pressure points stuff. And it's amazing when you see some of the things that happen with that. In addition, I talk about my stuff, and we had a presentation last month about AI being used in the medical field. Go figure. It's happening everywhere.
Absolutely.
And then when we wrap up today, I'm going to talk about an AI tool that's just being announced by my company that's going to blow the socks off of everybody. So where else can I go with this, Harlan? I mean, my buddy is the reason he was using the cream because he didn't want to be on the drugs. Number one, that was the most important. Number two, it was topical. He could use it easily. The reason he needed it, he was an Army infantry guy, and he was going into an LZ out in the bush someplace, and they were taking incoming, and the Huey pilot flared out 10 feet too soon. So that means they were above the ground 10 feet higher than they normally would be. They're normally above the ground about 5 feet when they're jumping out of the bird. Well, they were at about 12 feet. So can you imagine wearing a 75 to 100-pound pack, carrying your rifle and all your ammo and crap? Excuse me. And the compression
Hitting
that
the
happened
ground.
when he hit the
Yeah.
ground. Exactly.
Yeah,
It,
hitting the ground from 12 foot above with all of that weight on you. Yeah.
yeah. So that was why he was into it, and he and I were buddies just because we were working on a Vietnam project at the time.
Yeah, and there's two parts of that, right? There's the one part that he's 12 foot in the air and he's got all of that, and the other part is expected to be 5 foot in the air. So he was not prepared in
Nope.
many different ways to be 12 foot off the ground.
Yeah. There was actually, he was telling the story. He said that we actually had some broken legs and stuff with that. So it was pretty brutal stuff that,
Yeah.
that happened. Because all you got to do is be off slightly and then it's going to snap, like a twig kind of
Sure.
a deal. But
Sure.
luckily for me, where I was, and I was, like mentioned, I was in country for 366 days. I was over there. Now, the whole time I was there, I never pulled the trigger once. I was just not in an area where I was in close combat, situations. Now, almost every night that we were in Vietnam, though, they were shooting mortars and rockets at us. And did I come close a couple of times? Yeah, I was. We were, one of our supply depot areas was very close to a South Vietnamese Army ammo dump, and the ammo dump took a hit, which caused an explosive wave to come out and what basically wiped out. I'll try to remember to bring photos next time I see you to show you the results of what happened. I mean, if you've ever worked at a fast food joint, you know how big those reefer doors or refrigerator doors are, how thick they are, real thick,
Right.
big. This explosion basically ripped those doors off of all of our reefers.
Wow.
And wiped out the cold storage facility. So yeah, it's very, very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. So where else can we go with this?
So let's talk a little bit more about the Holistic Chamber of Commerce. This organization's been around for a while, and you're saying you're one of chapters. So there's chapters all across the country then?
Yes, sir. Yeah, all over the country. Actually, there's I think 3 chapters right now here in the Houston area, but all the other chapters are out in the outs. I call it the outskirts, the Woodlands, Cypress, Katy. They're all in the boonies, and I'm the closest one into more of the central area.
Okay.
And so that's why my chapter is called the Houston Memorial Area.
Right.
Because we used to have some meetings at a store that was on Memorial. So
Okay.
just one of those kind of deals. But most of the other chapters have reverted back to in-person meetings. My meeting is an in-person meeting, but I also, what's the word I'm looking for, Harlan? Producing. I do it on Zoom.
You offer a virtual option as well?
I offer, it's a hybrid meeting. I guess that's what they call it.
Yeah, hybrid.
It's a
That's correct.
meeting. So and we have different kinds of guest speakers. We have all different kinds. Like this coming September the 8th is the next meeting at 9 a.m. in the morning. Just people get a hold of me and I'll get you the address and all that business. But we're having a lady come in and talk about water, and she's going to test different kinds of water, and everybody's going to get blown away when they see the results of these water tests. So there's, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything.
Right.
That kind of deal.
So what does a membership to that organization look like? And what I mean is, does the chamber include just business folks that are working in different type of holistic medicines? Does it include individuals that are interested in that? Once again, is it a business organization? Is it an individual? As you know, we're both members of the Full Circadian Area Chamber of Commerce there in the Houston area. You can have a business membership, or you may just be new to the area and you want to join in person just to get to know people. Is it the same type
All
situation
the above.
in that?
Yes, absolutely. All the above. All the above. Where right now, a lot of the people are just getting to know people. I've got several people that are visiting that are recently discharged or retirees from the military
Okay.
that are coming to visit. So we got all kinds of things.
All right, Michael, one of the other things that we talked about before we started the show was that you've had a very long career in sales, very diverse career in sales, including working with Xerox and a little company that they had that was focused on sales. So talk a little bit about that journey and what sales has looked like, and the changing world of sales that you've seen over the years, because it's certainly a different atmosphere in sales. There's no doubt sales is sales, right? But we have seen a change in the way sales are presented. We even talked about a moment ago, Zoom. That certainly wasn't on anyone's radar even a few years ago. But talk a little bit about the dynamics of sales and what you've seen over the years.
Absolutely, yes. No, I when I got out of the Navy, I actually worked with a headhunter, and who was a retired Marine Corps colonel, and he had some contacts with several of the Fortune 100 companies. And one of the things that I knew that I wanted to do for me, for my personal development piece, was to go into sales. And turned out he got me set up with an interview. And one of them was with Xerox. Then I had a couple of interviews with some of the pharmaceuticals and that kind of thing. But the Xerox interview was quite interesting. It was on a Saturday. I had flown in from Tucson, Arizona to Orange County, California, and this guy lived in Newport Beach. So, and the interview was going to be at this guy's house in Newport Beach.
All right.
So I got myself there. By then I'd already done some background, information about what was Xerox all about, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it turned out that this guy that I was interviewing with was one of the hiring managers, and he was like me, a veteran who had gotten out of the Navy. So, and he knew that going in. So we had this camaraderie right to begin with, the get-go and blah, blah, blah. And he basically said he had already made up his mind that he was going to hire me, but we had to go through the formalities of the other rubber stamp interviews. So that it all worked out, and it turned out he was responsible in that one little particular branch office. He hired 8 veteran junior officers, Army, Air Force, couple of Navy guys. It was very interesting, and we all did extremely, extremely well. And I've stayed with Xerox out of that particular office for about 10 years, and then got some promotions. I became a sales manager with them, and then moved up the food chain a little bit, went back to their corporate office. But in all cases, one of the biggest skills that I had or was trained to have was the ability to speak, the ability to listen, and the ability to react to people, because that's what selling is all about. You got to be able to listen and react to deal with their questions, or maybe sometimes people call them objections, But you gotta work with them to answer their questions and maybe help them nudge them in the right direction. So Xerox at the time owned a major world-class sales training program. And I was sent, we did training, what they did training that when I first started, they had a West Coast school, they had one in the Midwest, and they had one in the Washington, D.C. area. And then they had one in Fort Lauderdale, California, at the Sheraton right on the beach. Now, that's a little tough duty to go to, right? And guess where Mike got to go? Mike got to go to Fort Lauderdale on the beach in the middle of the summertime. Come on, give me a break.
There you go. All right.
But I was one of the guinea pigs. Usually our classes were full immersion kind of classes, 3 weeks. They took that 3-week curriculum and stretched it to 4 weeks. And we had one class to see if that was going to be good or bad, you know. And it turned out, I guess, pretty good because the immersion, the extra time, our class exit score, there was an exit exam at the end, was 98.4. And that was a group of 10 of us. So I was kind of interested. Sorry about that. Anyway, from that point forward, though, that's when I made a commitment to myself because I wanted to improve myself. You wouldn't think that this guy that's talking to you right now used to be an introvert, do you? No, you wouldn't think that?
Well,
no.
Yeah.
But that's what I was. I mean, high school, I was very much an introvert. In college, I mean, I was working and studying so much, I never, got to go out and play and do things. So I needed to go out and I wanted to find something that would help me to do that. And sales was that game, and sales training was the part of that whole story. So I continued working and improving myself. Xerox provided a lot of selling opportunities, selling sales training courses, not only for the technical aspects of the job, but then we would actually go through and role play and do the, well, what if they say this? What if they say that? How do you go through all of that? So it was some pretty effective training that we went through that whole period. And then I started doing some personal development work on the side. My side gig started back in the 70s. And the first one that I did was sales training. And it's trying to help other folks with sales training stuff. So, and I continued doing that. So after I left Xerox gave me I did one trip to the East Coast to Connecticut for them, and then came back. I went from Southern California to Northern California. And then they offered me, well, if you want to keep moving up in this company, you have to make the commitment and move permanently to Rochester, New York. I gracefully declined. Yes, sir. Gracefully, very gracefully. So then I then went out and started my own direct mail marketing company that I had for a little while. Unfortunately, then that's when some of my Agent Orange stuff kicked in, so I had to shut down that business. And then eventually, once I got healthy, I was able to get hired back on with another company that's in that world, Japanese Incorporated, Ricoh, RICOH.
Yep.
And Ricoh had a series of different companies, and then I hopscotched. So I ended up, I had about 13 years with Ricoh companies, and luckily we were able to put them all together. So when they finally kicked me out because I was too old, said, "Oh, you're 67, you're out of here, Buster." So during that period of time, though, I also did a side gig where I started working for Dale Carnegie and Associates, sales training, motivation, just all the Carnegie stuff, and it was fabulous training stuff. So I got to do a bunch of that. And I also have worked with Eric Lofholm, and Eric got trained by the likes of uh, Proctor, uh, Tony Robbins, those kind of guys. So I've had some fabulous training, and I actually represent Eric Lofholm with some sales training seminars as well. And he's fabulous and doing some sales training stuff. So what else can I tell you?
Yes,
The
I mean,
whole
that's obviously a long career in sales. And most recently, of course, going towards the holistic medicine, when you fell into or discovered, I guess is the best way to say it, this cream, that's where you focused your sales energy now.
I've been focusing, well, pre-COVID for about 10 years, I was doing the cream full time.
Okay.
Pre-COVID. Now, remember, I was in California pre-COVID. So kept very busy. I was the number one rep and number one team in Northern California for a number of years. And I still get residual from some of that kind of stuff. When I came here to Texas, I basically was starting over because when COVID hit and when the government in California, they effectively shut down everything.
Right.
I mean, they shut it down hard to the point, and I'll give them this for credit, that they did classify people that were self-employed that you could get unemployment insurance.
Okay.
They opened the door for that. So that's what kept me going for a little while, is the unemployment dollars. So thank goodness for that, and then finally the company made some adjustments on a couple of things and blah, blah, blah. And then the rest is history. We're now moving forward in a direction we're still selling the stuff. I just was in Katy, Texas, with the at Katy Christian Chamber. They had a big community expo. Turned out real well. I got to share with people and just put it on them. And some of the looks on faces, I'd say, here, let's put this on. And some of them, boom, it was like instantaneous. Others would come back later on and then they start selling for me. Oh, I was just here with Mike and he put it on me, and this is marvelous. I'm here to buy my stuff.
That's great to hear.
That was good, from that standpoint. So every little bit counts. Every little bit counts. So,
absolutely.
But I am doing public speaking. One of the other passions that I have, because of my veteran experience, is that I have been doing public speaking at high schools primarily, but high schools, universities, Rotary, Kiwanis, all of those kinds of venues. And I do some talks that I call Vietnam Living History. And basically myself and I have a teammate who's an Army guy, and we share some of the things that happened to us over there. And then we also share and try to expand on some of the factual information that we know is not being taught correctly in schools. In some cases, being left out of the books and the stuff, So, and then I give some interesting tidbits of information about the Vietnam Memorial Wall in DC. When I get finished with folks, they're going, where did you find all that? Well, it's all there. You just got to know where to look, because there's 58,479 names on that wall. 33,301 of those names were 18 years old.
Wow.
That speaks to something just right there. Okay. And then I go into more detail about that because there were 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds, one 15-year-old that's on the wall.
Wow.
And everybody's saying, well, how did the military let him in? They screwed up. I said, excuse me, has your kid ever forged your signature on a document for their school? Yes. So, I mean,
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did we find a lot and ship them home? Yes. I haven't. That's the one number I've not been able to get as to how many we found and shipped home.
It's your
I wished
tone.
I could find it, but I haven't been able to find it yet. But anyway, I do a lot of speaking in that arena, plus speaking about sales and marketing, and because you're right, Harlan. The marketing is marketing. Sales is sales. Sales is still talking to somebody, listening, getting them to take action. The call to action, as
Right.
we use
The
in
call to action.
terminology,
That's right.
right? And there's different ways to get to that call to action, but it's all you and how you use your words. It's all in how you set it up, and then how are they set up from the marketing standpoint? And now marketing is a whole different gamut. I know I took marketing back in the mid 60s, and what they taught in marketing then is totally different from what they
Oh,
teach
yeah.
in marketing today. It's a total different world. I mean, you had books, you had magazines, and you had flyers and mailers. What do you have today? You got 10 times that much stuff. And let alone the digital components to it, now that I can't keep up with all the number of platforms there are. I
Yeah.
just I can't keep up with it. But I enjoy doing what I do to share my knowledge about sales, and I give some practical tips in the sales area, because people try to overly complicate things. It's really pretty simple. That call to action can be done, and you can set people up so they're actually, by the end, when I get done with it, they're asking me, well, what do I do to buy this stuff? And that's what you're trying to do, is get that person to say, hey, I'll take whatever it is that you're doing.
Whatever it is. That's right.
Whatever
That's
it
right.
is. Yeah.
Yep.
So I
Well,
enjoy, I enjoy doing what I do, and sharing, and uh again, I don't know, are we getting close to wrapping up, or what?
absolutely. So what I'd like to talk about here for a couple of minutes is you shared with me a revolutionary app that will be released very soon. It's almost unbelievable. But knowing what we know now about AI, right? We've seen lots of different things about AI now. Someone was just talking this week that I think we just passed by the date that in the original Terminator movie is when Skynet came alive or whatever. It came self-aware, and so we still got all these jokes about those of us that remember those days, and all of us worried about AI taking over. But this is revolutionary. What you're talking about, this is revolutionary. So share with us the announcement that you told me about earlier.
Absolutely, yeah, no. So the name of the company with the creams and lotions and stuff is called Real Time Pain Relief. Real Time Pain Relief. They just it's a family-owned business. It's based out of Oklahoma. We've always been a U.S. based company. One of the owners lives in Arkansas, and one of the owners has a condo that he lives in Puerto Rico when he's there. Usually, he and his wife are traveling the world, kind of deal. But they have come across this technology that was developed at Carnegie Mellon University by a doctor there. It is AI based, and she's been working on this project for a number of years with some of the earlier versions of this smartphone app that has AI and obviously has all the algorithms and all that. I'm not the scientist to be able to explain to it, but if anybody wants the information on it, all you got to do is get a hold of me, and I'll send you a link. It's called the Real Time Voice Analyzer, and what you do is you download the smartphone app on either Apple or Droid, either one. Those have been cleared. We are in a patent pending process right now. And like I said, it was developed at Carnegie Mellon, but we have had doctors look at it at MIT, Yale, et cetera, a number of different places. So, and bunches of tests have already been done. We're still doing more tests right now. So, I mean, folks, get a hold of me to be able to get your free download with some free tests are included in that free download. And then later on down the road, we may have a price to it, but our price is peanuts compared to taking those swabs and things and putting them at your nose or down your throat or whatever. It's again, it sounds very strange, but the accuracy rate so far across the boards of millions of tests already is about a 99% accuracy rate. So it's all I can tell you. It's called a real-time voice analyzer. Again, just call me and I can give you the information. Then you can download it. You have to register, obviously, to download. Boom, boom, and then go from there. But I'm excited. I downloaded mine. I've taken the test. Thank goodness I've not had any positives come back for me. But the results generally are going to come back to you within maximum about 10 minutes. So it's kind of very interesting from that.
To be clear, this is a voice analyzer that is letting you know if you have any respiratory issues. And what you're talking about very specifically that people would want to know, of course, with the swabs and stuff, is if they have COVID.
Yep.
And so at this point in time, the results, if they're in the 99 plus range, that's actually more accurate than any of the swab tests or the at-home tests that are out there right now today.
Exactly. For a fraction of the cost once we go live. Right now, if you folks come to me and I send you the link and you download it and use it, it's all freebie until we launch officially. We're at the tail end of our beta right now.
At the beta test still, right?
We're in the tail end of the beta, and we're getting very close to doing full launch. You know how long patent pending happens, but we're in patent pending process, so God knows how long that'll take. But we're going forward, and we're getting results, and people are happy about it. One of the other big things for any of the listeners that have contacts internationally, folks, this will go international. Okay, it's an app. It's an app. So that's not going to limit us at all. And we are going to have some of this on a subscription basis. And the cost can be as low as like 25 cents per test. So it's going to be very, very interesting how people take advantage of it, because you can buy one membership kind of deal, and that one membership per month includes like 30 tests. And anybody in the family can use the same one. So it's exciting. I'm excited about getting the word out. And if this is a way to help me get the word out, let's do it. I'll be very happy to share with that. And likewise, in terms of any of the folks if you have aches or pains, call me. And if you live close to me, we'll get together. I'll give you some free samples. If you live further away from me, all I'm going to charge is mail cost. So, because the more you try when you try this, generally speaking, about 95% of the people buy. That's how effective it is. And the big thing is, it does not stink like Bengay. You're not going to be Uncle Walter.
Well, if any of the things that we talked about today has struck a nerve and you would like to talk to Mike about any of these, he's pretty easy to reach. You can go out to, this is a real tough website to remember, askmikemartin.com. Wow. I'll tell you what an easy one, right, folks? Askmikemartin.com. askmikemartin.com. You can go out to his website, find all his contact information, including his email, which is info@askmikemartin.com. And of course, they can also reach you at that phone number there, right, Mike? 925-321-1093. That's 925-323-1093.
Let me correct it. 925-323-1093.
1093.
925-323-1093.
Huh?
Okay, that's my old Northern California number that travels with me now. Have cell phone, will travel.
There you go. All right. Hey, I really appreciate you taking time to share all this information with the listeners, to share your story, because I think it's vitally important that people understand that whenever you are in a system like our healthcare system, and you got some of the worst part of it, I guess you can say, by being in the VA, that when things aren't working, people are going to look for alternatives. And there are other answers out there. Everyone's got a story where someone they know has used an alternative, holistic method and received outstanding results. And so it's not as unusual as you think. I mean, I think you're right. You think about 20, 30 years ago, chiropractic was voodoo, right? It really was. And now it's very, very mainstream, and the numbers prove out how incredibly beneficial chiropractic can be. You can use that with so many of the other things: acupuncture, acupressure, like you talked about, Arasti, so many of the other almost mainstream type things that are out there now. It's just going to get more so as the cost of healthcare gets higher and higher. People are going to turn to these alternatives, interestingly enough, because they're more affordable, and they'll find out in many cases they're actually more effective as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just to think about this, folks. I mean, in Europe, the doctors are trained to think somewhat holistically and embed that kind of solution with their Western medicine stuff. Some of our military guys, the Army and the Air Force guys primarily, that are stationed in Germany, have gone into that German healthcare system with their families on occasion. Okay, and the big difference that they find is some of these guys will try something different to allow them to do that. So it's very, very interesting from that standpoint. So come to the Holistic Chamber. We are there to pass on information. If we don't know the answer, I'm going to go out and try to find somebody that can give us an answer. And there are people there that have goods and services that are available right on the spot. Especially, we have some discounted, where we have our meetings is at a school of massage. And we got package deals for that. So it's very interesting how it all could blend together. So,
yeah,
Harlan, I really appreciate you offering this ability for me to share, and I hope I've shared a lot and got some people stirred up. So, thank you very much for allowing me the honor.
You're very welcome, Mike. I appreciate anyone that is part of this transformation of the way we access healthcare. The revolution has been building for a while. The skyrocketing cost of healthcare just means things have to be done a different way. So there's a lot of folks that'll hear your message, and hopefully they'll reach out to you with some of the ideas and concepts that you have as well, and join up with the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, because we're going to have to find better ways to access healthcare. The affordability is absolutely ridiculous. Amen. All right, folks. So here we go. One thing to remember is every single month, the last Tuesday of the month, we have our LinkedIn audio room. Why does healthcare suck? We have knocked out 3 of those things already. We're going to be going to number 4 in September 26th, 11 a.m. Central Time, Same bad time, same bad channel. This time, we're going to dive into prescription drugs, whether it's PBMs, GPOs, the manufacturer, the pharmacies, what all makes that world go round? Why do prices keep increasing? Will the ability for Medicare to start negotiating on some of these have any impact? Why does the United States pay so much more than other countries? We're going to talk about all those things and also talk about some of the solutions we see out there. Join with us, and don't forget, at every one of these events, you have the ability to input and give your opinion on what's going on. Thanks a lot for joining with us on the Health and Wealth Power Hour, and we'll catch you next time. We are out.